Hey YouTube, it's Joel from Hadron Archery. I just wanted to show you guys something simple that I've been doing lately. Is making dowel arrows, but using a nail for the tip. And the reason why is because the field tips that I have are pretty dull, and I could sharpen them, but these are the screw-in. They're all I have. I don't have the glue-on type. But anyway, what I wanted to show you is how to make a nice sharp point for your arrow that will penetrate your targets. I have a faux canvas bag that I use for a target, and I like to shoot it, and these a lot of times would bounce off where the padding would get stuffed in there pretty tight. So I'm not going to show you how to like fletch or knock the arrow. There's thousands of videos on how to do that. But basically all you do is you take a small nail, like an 8-penny nail, and you just cut the head of it off. So like so. I'm just going to pop it off. So then you're left with this. And this is a ribbed arrow, or a ribbed nail. It has ribbings on it. And I find that these work pretty good. They hang on to the wood well, especially when you put glue on them. So what we're going to be doing is drilling a hole right into the center of our dowel. And that's the hardest part. That is literally the hardest part. Find a drill bit that fits your drill, or fits as closely as possible to the diameter of this nail, or whatever nail you may be using. The smaller the diameter of the nail, I feel like it works out a little bit better. Not ludicrously small, but small. I wouldn't go any smaller than this. The larger they are, the bigger the hole you have to drill. You tend to weaken the wood a little bit more, and it drive it physically every time you shoot a target that's a little bit harder. Like if you shoot 3D deer targets or things like that, it tends to drive that nail into there, and it'll eventually, crack and split the dowel. But basically, just find yourself a drill bit that matches your nail, and then match up the length to it that you're going to need to insert it. And this one is pretty close to where the drill stops, the cut on the drill stops. So basically, like I said, the hardest part is drilling into the dowel. You're going to drill right into the center of the dowel, and you can start with the smallest drill bit you have and just work your way up. But this is a 5/16 oak dowel that I picked up at Lowe's for dirt cheap. I think they're like $1.08 a piece. You could probably find them cheaper somewhere else. But another thing I wanted to show you guys is how to cut dowel using PVC pipe cutters, if you have that. If not, just use whatever you have. This all works fine. But what you're going to do is, the trick to this is just to kind of squeeze the dowel just a hair, and then you're going to score it all the way around, just like this. Just twist the dowel inside there. If you don't score it, it will splinter off when you cut through it. So if you're going to shave that portion off, doesn't matter. But scoring it keeps you from getting splinters that shard off. If you don't do that, it'll tend to splinter pretty badly. But just take your drill, find the center. You could take the nail if you like, and make your center point in the dowel. Like I said, this is oak, so it's a little bit harder than poplar. Poplar's cheaper, but it is softer. But it's only like 20 cents cheaper. So to me, that's not really enough to justify going with that soft and arrow dowel. But anyways, just press it in, make yourself an indention, just so the drill bit has a place to start, and then drill very slowly and very straight. As I'm drilling, I just do little bursts, and I rotate the arrow dowel around just to make sure that I'm staying center, staying in a straight line. Do not go too fast, because you'll have a tendency to go crooked. And if you go crooked, you're going to splinter it. You're going to come out the side of it and splinter it. I've done that several times. Anyway, just go slow. Drill this out. And you can stop and check the depth at any time. I know about how far to go. But the trick is when you insert the nail, you want just the tip exposed. See how that's out too far? I want so that the wood is just at the tip of this, so that it'll end up looking like a sharpened pencil when you're done. So here's, you go just like this. Check your depth. Make sure you didn't go too far. If you went too far, it's okay. You can always shave it up. Alright, now see, that's about how much you want sticking out. That's about perfect. So from there, all you're going to do is take your knife or taper tool if you have one, and you're just going to sharpen this, whittle it away. Literally, that's all we're going to do is just whittle this away. Poplar would be easier. You could probably just sand poplar. If you have a belt sander, just do that. But I find that this works pretty well and works on the fly, and you don't have to have a lot of money invested in anything. Now, I make better arrows than this, obviously, but this is the cheapest thing that I've found that makes a consistently good arrow. Almost every single time, as long as you don't mess it up. And that's, I mean, that's the problem with everything, is user error. So we're just going to sharpen this down. What you're going to end up with is like a giant pencil. That's what it's going to look like. And you can take and use a flame to harden the tip on this. So you'll see, you'll start grabbing, once you get cut through the wood, you'll start grabbing the nail with your knife or whatever you're using. It'll start to pull out. I just take my knife and just chip off just a little end bits. Okay. Now, once you've got it about like so, like I said, kind of looking like a pencil. Let me just shave a little more off of this so that it's kind of even all the way around. We're going to sand this to make it nice and round and smooth. Poplar would be very, very easy to work with, but it is a softer material, so I tend to avoid using poplar for arrows. Other people use it just fine. I just prefer it to be a little bit harder. They last a little bit longer, but that's about it. And then, so now I'm just going to grab some sandpaper. We're just going to sand this. This is just 80 grit sandpaper. Take it and place it just like this inside there, between your thumb and finger, and just twist back and forth. This is going to give you a nice consistent sand all the way around. So as you can see, it's starting to come in just fine. The idea is the smoother you make this, the smoother it's going to go into your target, the longer it's going to last. And you can always touch it up with a little bit of fine grit sandpaper. Okay. I got a little bit of a piece I need to knock off. And you can do that with your knife. And another thing is make the tip before you cut the length of the arrow. Because if you cut the length of the arrow and then make the tip and you mess up, you're stuck with a short arrow. Okay, so now that we've roughed it up with this 80 grit, I'm going to use some finer 180 grit. And this is about as fine as you need to go. You really don't need to go any finer than this. It'll work just fine. Same thing, just twist it around in your fingers. And now you've got this nice kind of point going on. I would take and put hot glue on it, or whatever kind of glue you want to use, and then insert it in there, press it in, and then wait for it to dry. And then if you really want it to seal, take some wood glue, like a 50-50 mix of Tide Bomb wood glue, or whatever you like, and some water. Just brush it on there, let it dry, let it sit, and you should be good to go. You can even take, if you don't want to use glue, just take a flame, an open flame, and just heat the tip until it's just charred, just a little bit, and you'll get a nice wood-fired or fired hardened wood. And should be shootable for quite some time. And it was cheap. You didn't spend hardly any money at all. And they work great. I mean, they work just fine. My target, like I said, I've got ones, these field tips, whenever the target gets packed tight, they bounce off. They won't penetrate. But other than that, this one I made, and I literally shot it into a tree as hard as I could. With as much force as possible using a 45 pound bow. But this is what it did. The nail tip is still in there. It's still glued in. It just splintered. And I think what happened with that was just the way that it hit the tree. It caught a piece of bark and it just splintered it off. But all I'm going to do is cut this down short and make a crossbow bolt out of it. So why not? But anyway, cheap way to make an arrow. So try it out. If you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe to me. Pay attention. I'll keep more stuff out there. I'm going to do a video on the Sias for the shark bow next to let you guys see how I did that. But otherwise, stay tuned and keep up with me. Thanks for watching. Bye.